Tonight, we are setting aside the drama. The excitement of rolling a natural 20 to slay the dragon. The despair of rolling a 1 when picking a lock. Instead, we are going to look at something quieter. Something that hides beneath every session, every game night, every dramatic moment. The mathematics of chance. The invisible architect that shapes every story we tell with dice. For the next 2 hours, we will move slowly through this landscape. We will look at how different dice create different feelings. How they shape narratives. How they can make a game feel heroic or gritty, chaotic or controlled, dramatic or predictable. This will be calm, methodical, gentle. There will be no excitement here. Only the soft unfolding of understanding. Let us begin. Think about the last time you played a game with dice. Maybe it was Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe it was Catan. Maybe it was Warhammer, or Monopoly, or Yahtzee. Do you remember how the dice felt? Not the physical sensation, but the emotional one. Did every roll feel equally important? Or did some rolls feel inevitable while others felt like genuine surprises? That feeling, that texture of chance, is not accidental. It is built into the mathematics of the dice being used. Different dice create different stories. Consider the 20-sided die, the D20, the iconic polyhedral die of role-playing games. When you roll a D20, every number from 1 to 20 is equally likely to appear. Each face has the same chance. No number is favored. No outcome is more common than any other. This creates what we call a uniform distribution. Imagine a perfectly flat horizon. Every point on that horizon is the same height. That is a D20. Flat. Equal. Democratic. What does this mean for your game? It means that a level 1 fighter swinging a sword has the same random component as a level 20 paladin. The die does not care about your character sheet. It does not care about your story. It does not care that this is the climactic battle. 1 through 20. All equally possible. This creates drama. Tension. The possibility that anything could happen at any moment. A beginning character could roll a 20 and strike down a powerful enemy with a single blow. Not because they are skilled, but because the die said so. An experienced character could roll a 1 and fumble embarrassingly in front of their companions. The D20 is chaos. Beautiful, democratic chaos. Some players love this. The uncertainty. The fact that the dice can surprise everyone at the table, including the game master. The story can turn on a single roll. Other players find it frustrating. They have built a character with high stats, careful planning, good equipment. And then they roll a 3. And fail. Because the die is flat. Because every outcome is equal. Now think about a different game. A game that uses 2 6-sided dice. Monopoly does this. So does Settlers of Catan. So does the Powered by the Apocalypse family of story games. When you roll 2 dice and add them together, something changes. The range is 2 through 12. But these numbers are not equally likely. To roll a 2, both dice must show 1. There is only one way for this to happen. To roll a 3, You need a 1 and a 2. There are two ways, first die 1 and second die 2, or first die 2 and second die 1. But to roll a 7? There are 6 different ways. 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, 4 and 3, 5 and 2, 6 and 1. 7 is the peak, the most common outcome, the center of gravity. If we imagine the D20 as a flat horizon, then 2d6 is a gentle hill. Rising from 2, peaking at 7, descending to 12. This hill has weight. It has shape. It pulls results toward the center. What does this mean for your game? It means that most of the time, you will roll near 7. Rolling a 2 or a 12 is rare, special, memorable. In Catan, this becomes crucial. Resources are tied to numbers. If you build on an 8 or a 6, numbers close to 7, you will collect resources frequently. If you build on a 2 or a 12, you will almost never collect. The experienced Catan player knows this intuitively. They feel the weight of the curve. They understand that coastal wheat on an 8 is far more valuable than coastal wheat on a 3, even though both are wheat. In Apocalypse World, when you roll 2d6 and add a modifier, most results cluster in the middle range. A result of 7 to 9 is a partial success. It happens often. It is the default state of the game. Rolling 10 or higher, a full success, requires good stats or good luck. Rolling 6 or lower, a failure, requires bad stats or bad luck. The game is designed around this hill, around this clustering. The story naturally gravitates toward partial successes, complications. Yes, but scenarios. This is the mathematics shaping the narrative. Or consider 3 six-sided dice. Games like GURPS use this. Some versions of Traveller. Certain hacks of other systems. 3d6 creates an even taller, narrower hill. The peak is at 10 or 11. The extremes, 3 and 18, are vanishingly rare. Most rolls cluster tightly around the middle. The curve is steep. What does this mean for your story? It means reliability, consistency. Characters perform near their skill level most of the time. A skilled character with bonuses succeeds regularly. An unskilled character fails regularly. The drama comes not from the randomness of individual rolls, but from the gradual accumulation of successes and failures. From resource management. From difficult choices. This feels different than a D20 game. It feels grounded. Realistic. The dice rarely betray you with a catastrophic failure. But they also rarely save you with an unlikely success. Your story becomes less about lucky moments and more about competent people doing what they are trained to do, or incompetent people struggling against challenges beyond their ability. These are not just mathematical curiosities. They are design choices. Philosophical stances about what kind of story the game wants to tell. A D20 game says, anyone can be a hero for a moment. Luck is a character in this story. The dice are fate. A 2d6 game says, most things are middling. Extreme outcomes are rare. Expect complications. A 3d6 game says, skill is destiny. The dice confirm what we already know. The competent succeed. The incompetent fail. None of these is better or worse. They are simply different landscapes, different textures of chance. As we move through the next 2 hours, we will explore these landscapes in detail. We will talk about when advantage is better than a bonus, when a dice pool creates a different feeling than a single die, how the mathematics of probability shapes the stories we tell. This will be slow, gentle, thorough. Let the numbers become a landscape in your mind, a geography of chance, and rest in the knowledge that beneath every dramatic moment, every clutch roll, every heartbreaking failure, there is mathematics. Quiet, predictable, knowable. Let us continue. Let us talk about 7. In any game that uses 2 six-sided dice, 7 is the center. The most common result. The heart of the distribution. This is not opinion. It is mathematics. 6 different combinations produce 7. Only one combination produces 2. Only one produces 12. 7 is inevitable. Not on any individual roll, but across many rolls. It is the gravity well around which all other numbers orbit. This has profound effects on game design and on gameplay. Consider Settlers of Catan. In Catan, every resource hex has a number token. When that number is rolled on 2 dice, everyone with a settlement or city adjacent to that hex collects resources. 7 has no token. 7 is special. When you roll 7, the robber moves. Everyone with more than 7 cards discards half their hand. The active player places the robber on a hex, blocking it, and steals a card from someone. 7 is punishment. 7 is disruption. And 7 happens constantly. In a typical game of Catan, let us say players roll the dice 200 times total across the entire game. We would expect 7 to appear about 33 times. 1/6 of all rolls. That means the robber moves 33 times. 33 times. Someone loses resources. 33 times, a hex becomes blocked. Compare this to a 12, which might appear only 5 or 6 times in the same game. The frequency of 7 shapes the entire strategy of Catan. You cannot hoard resources. You cannot ignore the robber. You must plan around disruption. This is the weight of the curve. 7 is not just slightly more common. It is dramatically more common. And the game is built around this fact. But imagine a different version of Catan. One that uses a 20-sided die instead of 2 six-sided dice. On a d20, 7 has the same probability as 12. Or 3. Or 15. Every number is equal. In this version, the robber would move on a 7 just as often as resources would be collected on a 12. The rhythm of the game would change completely. Disruption would be rare. Predictable resource generation would be rare. Everything would feel more chaotic, more swingy. Players could build on a 3 with the same confidence as building on an 8, because both appear equally often. The strategy would collapse. The game would lose its texture. This is not a better or worse version of Catan. It is simply a different game. One that would feel unrecognizable to players familiar with the original. The choice of 2d6 instead of 1d20 is not arbitrary. It is foundational. It creates the possibility of the robber as a central mechanic. It creates the value hierarchy of number tokens. It creates the entire strategic landscape. In a role-playing context, Imagine a game master running a heist scenario using powered by the apocalypse rules. 2d6 plus modifiers. The rules say, on a 7 to 9, you succeed, but with a complication. On a 10 or higher, you succeed cleanly. On a 6 or lower, you fail, and things get worse. The thief is picking a lock. They have a good bonus, +2. They roll 2d6. Most of the time, if the dice show anything from 5 to 8 total before the modifier, they will land in the 7 to 9 range after adding the bonus. Partial success. The lock opens, but it takes time. Or it makes noise. Or a guard rounds the corner. Complications are the default. Clean success requires rolling 8 or higher on the dice. This happens less than half the time. Failure requires rolling 4 or lower on the dice. This also happens rarely. The game master, knowing this, can plan accordingly. They can prepare interesting complications. They can build the narrative around partial successes, because partial successes are where the curve wants the story to go. This is very different from a D20 system. In Dungeons & Dragons, the thief rolling to pick the same lock might need to be to 15. If they have a +7 bonus, let us say from high dexterity and proficiency, they need to roll an 8 or higher on the D20. That is a 13 out of 20 chance. 65%. Likely, but not guaranteed. But every number on the D20 is equally possible. Rolling a 1 is just as likely as rolling a 15. There is no clustering. No center. So the game master does not know what to expect. They must prepare for clean success, dramatic failure, and everything in between. Every outcome is genuinely uncertain. The story could go anywhere. Neither approach is wrong. They create different experiences. The 2d6 system creates a story that bends toward complications, toward messy successes, toward interesting failures. The dice encourage this by making 7 to 9 the most common result. The D20 system creates a story that is more binary, more uncertain. The dice do not suggest a particular outcome. They remain neutral, chaotic. A game master choosing between these systems is choosing what kind of story they want to tell. Do they want a story where complications drive the narrative forward? Where failure is rare, clean success is rare, and messy success is the norm? Choose 2d6. Do they want a story where anything can happen? Where a skilled character still has a meaningful chance of failure? Where luck plays a starring role? Choose a D20. The mathematics creates the narrative space. Let us return to Catan for a moment. To the weight of 7. Experienced players know that the numbers 6 and 8, which are one step away from 7, are the most valuable. They each appear 5 times out of 36 rolls. Almost as often as 7 itself. Numbers 5 and 9 appear 4 times each. Still good. Numbers 4 and 10 appear 3 times each. Acceptable. Numbers 3 and 11 appear twice each. Poor. Numbers 2 and 12 appear once each. Almost worthless. This creates a hierarchy, a value system embedded in the mathematics. When players negotiate trades, when they choose where to build, when they decide which hex to block with the robber, they are navigating this probability landscape. The player who does not understand the curve, who thinks a 3 is just as good as an 8 because they are both numbers, will lose. Not because they are unlucky, but because they are fighting against mathematics. The player who understands the curve, who knows that building on 6 and 8 gives them resources almost every 3 rolls, will accumulate advantages over time. The curve rewards knowledge. It punishes ignorance. Now imagine teaching Catan to a new player. You could explain the mathematics. You could say, 8 appears 5 times out of 36, while 3 appears 2 times out of 36, so 8 is 2.5 times more valuable. Or you could simply say, 8 is better than 3. Trust me. Most people go with the second option. The mathematics remains invisible. But it is still there, shaping every decision. The new player, over time, will develop an intuition. They will notice that their 8 hex produces more often. They will start to prefer 6s and 8s without consciously understanding why. This is the mathematics becoming embodied, becoming felt rather than known. And this is beautiful, in a way. The curve does not need to be understood to be experienced. It shapes the game whether we see it or not. Let us think about a game master designing an encounter. They are running a game using 3d6. The system is GURPS, perhaps, or a homebrew. They want to create a challenge that a character with skill level 12 can succeed at most of the time, but not always. 3d6 has an average result of 10 to 11. If the character has skill 12, and they need to roll equal to or under their skill to succeed, they will succeed most of the time. Specifically, they succeed unless they roll 13 or higher. On 3d6, rolling 13 or higher happens about 16% of the time. So the character succeeds about 84% of the time. This is competent. Reliable. Most attempts succeed. But if the game master wants more tension, they could impose a penalty. -2 to the skill. Now the character is rolling against effective skill 10. Rolling 11 or higher on 3d6 happens about 38% of the time. Now the character succeeds about 62% of the time. Still likely, but much less certain. The game master, by adjusting a single modifier, has shifted the story from this character is competent and will probably succeed to this is challenging and could go either way. But the underlying shape, the 3d6 curve, remains constant. It is the foundation on which these adjustments are built. 20 Game Master. They want to create the same challenge. A task that a skilled character can usually complete, but not always. The character has a bonus of +7. The Game Master sets the difficulty at 15. The character needs to roll 8 or higher. That is 13 out of 20 outcomes. 65%. Close to the 62% of the GURPS example. But the feeling is different. On the D20, every individual roll is equally uncertain. Rolling an 8 feels just as surprising as rolling a 12 or a 4. On 3d6, rolling near the middle feels inevitable. Rolling at the extremes feels surprising. The D20 system puts equal weight on every moment. Every roll is dramatic. The 3d6 system puts weight on the center. Most rolls feel expected. Only the extremes are dramatic. A game master who understands this can choose which feeling they want for a particular scene. Do they want every roll to feel tense? Use a D20. Do they want only the exceptional outcomes to feel tense? Use multiple dice. The mathematics gives them options. Let us pause here for a moment. Think about the games you have played. The dice you have rolled. Have you noticed the weight of the center? The pull toward 7, or 10, or 11? Or have you felt the flat equality of a D20, where every number is a surprise? These feelings are not imaginary. They are mathematical realities, translated into experience. The curve is real. It is there, waiting beneath every roll. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It shapes everything. Rest in this knowledge. Now we turn to a question that many players face. A practical question. A strategic question. Should I take advantage on this roll? Or should I take a flat bonus? This appears in many games. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, most famously. But also in other systems that offer choices between different kinds of mechanical benefits. Let us explore this slowly, carefully. First, let us understand what advantage means. In a game with advantage, you roll 2 dice instead of 1. You keep the higher result. You ignore the lower one. This is different from rolling 2 dice and adding them together. Very different. When you roll with advantage on a D20, you are still ultimately getting a single number from 1 to 20. But the probabilities change. Think of it this way. Imagine you need to roll a 15 or higher to succeed. With a single D20, 6 numbers succeed, 15 through 20. That is 6 out of 20 possible outcomes. Almost 1/3. With advantage, 2d20, keep the higher, you succeed if either die shows 15 or higher. The only way to fail is if both dice show 14 or lower. The mathematics tells us this happens much less often. Instead of failing 2/3 of the time, you fail less than half the time. Advantage approximately doubles your chance of rolling 15 or higher, from about 30% to about 50%. This is powerful. But advantage is not always better than a bonus. Let us imagine a scenario. You are playing Dungeons and Dragons. You need to roll a 12 or higher to hit an enemy. Your game master offers you a choice. You can have advantage on your roll, or you can have a +3 bonus. Which should you choose? The answer depends on the mathematics, on the shape of the probabilities. With a single D20, you need 12 or higher. That is 9 out of 20 outcomes. 45%. With advantage, your chance of success goes up to about 70%. A gain of 25 percentage points. With a +3 bonus, you need to roll 9 or higher. That is 12 out of 20 outcomes. 60%. A gain of 15 percentage points. In this scenario, advantage is better. Much better. But what if the target is different? Imagine you need to roll a 20. A critical hit. Only a natural 20 counts. With a single D20, your chance is 1 in 20. 5%. With advantage, your chance rises to about 1 in 10. 9.75%, to be more precise. You nearly double your chances. With a +3 bonus, your chance is still 1 in 20. Because you still need a natural 20. The bonus does not help at all. In this scenario, advantage is dramatically better. But now imagine the opposite extreme. You need to roll a 2 or higher. Almost any roll succeeds. With a single D20, 19 out of 20 outcomes succeed. 95%. With advantage, 19 out of 20 outcomes still succeed on at least 1 die. Your chance rises slightly, but not much. With a +3 bonus, you now succeed even on a natural one. 100%. In this scenario, the bonus is better. The pattern becomes clear. Advantage is most powerful when you need a middling result. When success is uncertain but possible. Advantage is least powerful at the extremes, when you almost certainly will succeed or fail anyway. A flat bonus is consistent. It helps equally across all targets, but it helps less in the middle ranges where advantage shines. Let us make this concrete with a story. You are playing a rogue in Dungeons and Dragons. You are trying to sneak past a guard. The game master sets the difficulty at 15. You have two options. You can hide in shadows, which gives you advantage. Or you can wait for your ally to cast a spell that gives you a +2 bonus. Your stealth bonus is +5. So with the spell, you would roll with +7 total. With advantage, you need to roll 10 or higher on at least one of 2 dice. This happens about 75% of the time. With the bonus, you need to roll an 8 or higher on a single die. This happens 65% of the time. Advantage is better. You take the shadows. But what if the difficulty was 18 instead? A much harder check. With advantage, you need to roll 13 or higher on at least one die. This happens about 50% of the time. With the bonus, you need to roll 11 or higher. This happens also about 50% of the time. They are nearly equal. Either choice works. But what if you needed a 20? An impossible task that only a perfect roll could achieve. With advantage, you have 2 chances at rolling 20. About 10% total. With the bonus, you have 1 chance. 5%. Advantage is clearly better when you need perfection. This affects how players make decisions at the table. A player who understands this will hide in shadows when the task is moderately difficult. They will seek bonuses when the task is very easy or when they need a critical. A player who does not understand this might make suboptimal choices. They might waste advantage on a roll they would almost certainly make anyway. Or seek bonuses when advantage would help more. The game rewards system mastery. It rewards understanding the shape of the probabilities. But there is another consideration. The narrative consideration. Advantage is not just mechanical. It is also descriptive. When you roll with advantage, the game master describes favorable circumstances. Shadows concealing you. The guard distracted by a noise. The wind blowing your scent away from the hounds. A flat bonus is more abstract. You are simply better at this task. More skilled. More prepared. Some players prefer the narrative weight of advantage. It makes the world feel responsive. Circumstances matter. The environment is part of the story. Other players prefer the clean simplicity of bonuses. They want their character's skill to be the determining factor, not random environmental factors. Neither preference is wrong. They create different kinds of stories. A game master might offer advantage when they want the environment to feel important. When they want the player to notice the shadows, the distractions, the opportunities. They might offer bonuses when they want the character's competence to shine. When they want skill and preparation to matter more than circumstances. The mechanical choice carries narrative weight. Let us consider disadvantage. The opposite of advantage. Roll 2 dice, keep the lower. This is devastating. If you need a 15 or higher, and you roll with disadvantage, both dice must show 15 or higher. This happens only about 9% of the time. Compare this to the 45% with a normal roll, or the 70% with advantage. Disadvantage transforms likely success into likely failure. And just as with advantage, the effect is strongest in the middle ranges. Disadvantage on an easy task is annoying but manageable. Disadvantage on a nearly impossible task changes little. You were probably going to fail anyway. But disadvantage on a middling task, something you could do half the time, crushes your chances down to about a quarter of the time. This is brutal. A game master imposing disadvantage is making a strong statement. They are saying, this is hard. Circumstances are against you. The world does not want you to succeed. A player rolling with disadvantage feels this. They feel the weight, the resistance. Even if they succeed, rolling high on both dice, they feel like they overcame something. Like they fought against the odds. This is narrative design through mathematics. The game master could impose a penalty instead. -3 to the roll. This would also make success harder. But it would feel different. A penalty feels like the character is less skilled, less prepared. Disadvantage feels like the world is fighting back. Again, neither is wrong. They create different stories. Some games allow advantage and disadvantage to stack, or to cancel each other out. In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, one source of advantage and one source of disadvantage cancel completely. You roll normally. Additional sources do not stack. You cannot have double advantage or double disadvantage. This is a design choice. It simplifies the game. It prevents players from accumulating massive piles of advantage. But it also creates interesting tactical decisions. If you have advantage, and the enemy might impose disadvantage, suddenly that advantage becomes very valuable. You do not want to lose it. You will fight to keep it. If you have disadvantage, gaining advantage does not make you better than normal. It only brings you back to baseline. So you need to either prevent the disadvantage or find two sources of advantage. The cancellation rule shapes strategy. It shapes how players use their resources, how they position themselves, how they negotiate the battlefield. Mathematics becomes tactics. Let us imagine a combat scenario. You are a fighter. You are flanking an enemy, which gives you advantage. But you are also poisoned, which gives you disadvantage. They cancel. You roll normally. Your ally offers to cast a spell that would grant you advantage. Should they? In this case, yes. It would break the cancellation. You would roll with advantage. But if you were not poisoned, the spell would do nothing. You already have advantage from flanking. The decision tree becomes complex. Interesting. Players must track multiple sources of modifiers and understand how they interact. This is depth. Complexity emerging from simple rules. But it can also be overwhelming. Some players find it exhausting to track all the sources of advantage and disadvantage. A simpler game might just use bonuses. +2 for flanking. -2 for poison. Net 0. Same outcome, but more transparent. Easier to calculate. The choice between these systems is a choice about cognitive load. About how much players want to track. About whether the extra narrative flavor of advantage is worth the extra complexity. Let us pause here. The question of advantage versus bonuses is not purely mathematical. It is also narrative, tactical, aesthetic. Advantage creates a different feeling, a different texture. It shapes the story in subtle ways. It rewards middle-range targets. It punishes extremes. It interacts with disadvantage in ways that create tactical depth. A player who understands this can make better choices, can optimize their character, can contribute more effectively. But a player who does not understand this can still play. can still have fun, can still tell stories. The mathematics is there, shaping things quietly, but it does not demand to be seen. It is content to work in silence. Rest in this understanding. A different paradigm entirely. Dice pools. These appear in many games. Shadowrun, Blades in the Dark, Genesis, many others. Instead of rolling one die and adding numbers, you roll many dice and count successes. Each die that meets a threshold contributes. This creates a different feeling, a different rhythm. Let us explore this slowly. Imagine you are playing Blades in the Dark. You are a thief breaking into a manor house. The game master asks you to roll to sneak past the guards. You have 3 dice in your prowl pool. You roll them all. Any die showing a 4, 5, or 6 is a success. You need at least one success to avoid being caught. You roll. The dice clatter. They settle. 5, 3, 4, 2 successes. You sneak past easily. The game master describes how you move like a shadow, how the guards never even glance in your direction. But what if you had rolled differently? 2, 2, 3. No successes. The game master describes how a floorboard creaks, how a guard's head snaps toward the sound, how you freeze, heart pounding. The story branches based on the dice, not on a single number, but on how many dice succeeded. This is fundamentally different from a D20 system. In Dungeons & Dragons, you might roll a D20, add your stealth bonus, and compare to a difficulty. You either beat the number or you do not. Binary. Yes or no. In a dice pool system, there are degrees. 0 successes, total failure. Things get worse. 1 success, partial success. You succeed, but at a cost or with a complication. 2 successes, solid success. You do what you set out to do. 3 or more successes, exceptional success. You do it brilliantly, maybe with an extra benefit. The same action, sneaking past guards, can have 4 or 5 different outcomes based on how many dice succeed. This creates narrative texture. It creates space for the game master to improvise, to respond to the dice with different levels of consequence. But there is mathematics underneath this. Each die has a 50% chance of success if we are counting 4, 5, and 6 as successes on a D6. Half the faces succeed. Half fail. With 3 dice, what are the probabilities? 0 successes means all 3 dice failed. 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. 1/8. About 12%. 1 success means exactly 1 die succeeded and 2 failed. There are 3 ways this can happen. First die succeeds, or second, or third. The math works out to 3/8. About 37%. 2 successes means exactly 2 dice succeeded and 1 failed. Also 3 ways this can happen. Also 3/8. 37%. 3 successes means all dice succeeded. 1/8. About 12%. So the most likely outcomes are 1 or 2 successes. Partial success or solid success. These together account for about 3/4 of all rolls. Total failure and exceptional success are rare. They happen about 1 time in 8 each. The game is designed around this. The rules assume you will usually get 1 or 2 successes. The game master prepares complications and costs for partial success, because partial success is common. Total failure is rare enough to feel significant when it happens. Exceptional success is rare enough to feel rewarding. But what if you had more dice? Imagine you are well prepared. You scouted the manor earlier, giving you an extra die. You have assistance from an ally, giving you another die. You have 5 dice total. Now the probabilities shift. 0 successes. All 5 dice fail. 1/2 to the 5th power. About 3%. Very rare. 1 success. About 16%. 2 successes. About 31%. 3 successes. Also about 31%. 4 successes. About 16%. 5 successes. About 3%. Now the most likely outcomes are 2 or 3 successes. Solid success or exceptional success. Failure is almost impossible. You would need all 5 dice to fail simultaneously. This is the power of preparation in a dice pool system. More dice do not just increase your chances slightly. They shift the entire probability landscape. Going from 3 dice to 5 dice transforms the story from you might fail or partially succeed to you will almost certainly succeed, maybe brilliantly. Compare this to a D20 system. In Dungeons & Dragons, if you prepare carefully, you might gain a +2 bonus. Or advantage. Or both. Let us say the difficulty is 15, and you have a base bonus of +3. Normally, you need to roll 12 or higher. That is 9 out of 20. 45%. With a +2 for preparation, you need to roll 10 or higher. 12 out of 20. 60%. With advantage, you need to roll 12 or higher on at least one of 2 dice. About 70%. With both advantage and a +2 bonus, you need to roll 10 or higher on at least 1 die. About 80%. These are meaningful increases. But they do not transform the story the way adding dice does in a pool system. In the D20 system, there is always a chance of failure. Even with every advantage, you could still roll a 1 on both dice. Unlikely, but possible. In a 5-dice pool system, failure becomes almost theoretical. It exists in the mathematics, but you will rarely see it. This changes how players approach challenges. In a D20 game, players remain cautious even when prepared. The dice can always betray them. In a dice pool game, players become confident when they have accumulated enough dice. They know the probabilities favor them heavily. Create a different kind of tension. In Blades in the Dark, you can choose to accept a devil's bargain before rolling. The Game Master offers you an extra die, but with a cost. Maybe you leave evidence behind. Maybe you owe someone a favor. Maybe you anger a powerful faction. You look at your pool. You have 2 dice. Rolling 2 dice, you have a 25% chance of 0 successes. A 50% chance of 1 success. Only a 25% chance of 2 or more. The devil's bargain would give you 3 dice. 12% chance of failure. 75% chance of 1 or 2 successes. Do you take it? The decision is not just mathematical. It is narrative. What is the cost? How important is this action? Can you afford to fail? But the mathematics informs the decision. Players develop an intuition for how many dice they need, for when the risk is worth the reward. With 2 dice, you might take the bargain. Failure is too likely. With 4 dice, you might refuse. Success is already probable. The mathematics creates decision points. Moments where players must weigh probabilities against consequences. Let us consider another dice pool game. Shadowrun. In Shadowrun, you roll a pool of d6. Every 5 or 6 is a success. You need a certain number of successes to accomplish the task. Let us say you are hacking a corporate server. You need 3 successes. You have 6 dice. Each die has a 1/3 chance of success. 2 faces out of 6. What is the probability of getting at least 3 successes? The mathematics becomes complex here. We must consider all the ways to get 3, 4, 5, or 6 successes and sum their probabilities. The result is approximately 62%. More likely than not, but not guaranteed. This is different from Blades in the Dark, where 1 success is often enough. In Shadowrun, you need multiple successes. The threshold is higher. This creates a grittier, more uncertain feeling. Even with 6 dice, success is not assured. You might roll poorly, get only 1 or 2 successes, fail the hack, trigger the alarm. The higher threshold changes the narrative. It makes the world feel more resistant, harder, less forgiving. Some dice pool games add complications. Shadowrun has glitches. If more than half your dice show 1s, something goes wrong even if you succeed. Imagine you roll 6 dice. You get 3 successes, 5s and 6s. But you also roll 4 1s. You succeeded at the hack. But you triggered a trace. Corporate security is now aware of the intrusion. The countdown has begun. This adds texture, layers. Success is not binary. It can be complicated, messy, dangerous. The mathematics makes this possible. With 6 dice, if each die has a 1/6 chance of showing a 1, rolling 4 or more 1s is rare but not impossible. It happens about 1% of the time. So glitches are rare enough to be surprising, but common enough, across a campaign, to happen occasionally. When they do, they become memorable moments. Stories the group tells later. Remember when we glitched the hack and had to fight our way out? The mathematics creates narrative possibilities. Let us think about opposed pools. In some games, 2 characters each roll a pool. Whoever gets more successes wins. Imagine a chase. You are a runner fleeing from corporate security. You roll 5 dice. The security officer rolls 4 dice. You roll 3 successes. They roll 2 successes. You win. You escape into the crowded market. The game master describes how you vault over a fruit stand, how the pursuing officer gets tangled in the collapsing awning. But what if the roles had been different? You, 2 successes. They, 3 successes. You lose. They catch you. The story goes in a different direction. The mathematics creates genuine uncertainty. With 5 dice versus 4, you are favored but not guaranteed to win. Across many such contests, you would win more often. But in any single roll, anything can happen. This is tension. Drama. The outcome is not predetermined. Compare this to a d20 opposed roll. You roll a d20 plus your bonus. They roll a d20 plus their bonus. Higher result wins. If you have a +6 and they have a +4, you are favored by 2 points. But the d20 has a range of 20. A 2-point advantage is small. They could easily roll higher than you. The uncertainty is similar to the dice pool example. But the feeling is different. In a d20 system, both sides roll 1 die. The outcome hinges on those 2 rolls. It is a duel. A confrontation of single moments. In a dice pool system, both sides roll multiple dice. The outcome is the aggregate of many small successes and failures. It is a scramble. A contest of accumulated advantages. Neither is better. They tell different kinds of stories. A d20 chase feels like a sudden burst of speed, a single decisive moment. A dice pool chase feels like a sustained effort, a series of quick decisions and lucky breaks. The mathematics creates the narrative texture. Let us pause here. Dice pools create a different rhythm, a different feeling. They emphasize accumulation, preparation, building advantages. They create degrees of success, shades of outcome. They make failure rare when you are well prepared, but they never eliminate it entirely. They feel granular, incremental, organic. A game master choosing a dice pool system is choosing this texture, this rhythm. They are saying, preparation matters. Circumstances matter. Success comes in degrees. Rest in this understanding. The dice clatter. They settle. The successes are counted. And the story continues. Uncomfortable. Sometimes, the dice break the game. Sometimes, the mathematics works against the story. Sometimes, probability creates problems. This is not the dice's fault. Dice are neutral. Probability is neutral. But game design is hard. And not every system handles the mathematics gracefully. Let us explore this carefully. Imagine you are playing a campaign in Dungeons & Dragons. Your character is a fighter. Over many sessions, through treasure and rewards, you have acquired a magic sword, enchanted armor, a belt of giant strength. Your attack bonus is now +12. The game master puts you against an enemy. A challenging enemy. Armor class 19. You need to roll a 7 or higher to hit. That is 14 out of 20 outcomes. 70%. You attack. Roll. 15. Hit. You deal damage. Next round. Roll. 11. Hit. More damage. Next round. Roll. 9. Hit. Again. The enemy falls. The combat ends. This felt efficient, but not dramatic, not uncertain. The dice were there. You rolled them. But the outcome was never in doubt. The mathematics favored you so heavily that the combat became a formality. This is a problem. The issue is that the D20 system has a fixed range. 1 through 20. Bonuses can grow indefinitely. +5, +10, +15. But the die remains 1 through 20. Eventually, bonuses outpace the die. The randomness becomes irrelevant. Against low armor classes, say, 12 or 13, your +12 bonus means you only need to roll a 1 to hit. You hit 95% of the time. The die barely matters. Against high armor classes, say, 25, you need to roll a 13 or higher. 40%. Still meaningful. But if your bonus grows to +15, you only need an 8 or higher. 65%. And if it grows to +20, you need a 3 or higher. 90%. The game master is caught. They can keep armor classes low, making combat trivial. Or they can raise armor classes to keep pace with bonuses, but then the numbers become absurd. Armor class 30. Armor class 40. The verisimilitude breaks. This is the mathematics outgrowing the system. Some games handle this differently. In GURPS, which uses 3d6, the range is 3 to 18. But you roll under your skill level. If your skill is 18, you succeed unless you roll 18. You succeed 17 out of 18 times on the table. Wait, let me recalculate. On 3d6, rolling exactly 18 happens rarely. About 0.5% of the time. Rolling 17 or 18 together is still very rare. So if your skill is 18, you almost never fail. The game has the same problem as high-level D&D. But GURPS has critical failure rules. If you roll 17 or 18, you critically fail regardless of skill level. Even a master can fumble. This keeps a tiny sliver of uncertainty, but it feels arbitrary. A master surgeon, the best in the world, still has a 0.5% chance of catastrophically failing a routine surgery because they rolled badly. Some players like this. It keeps even high-level play uncertain. Others hate it. It feels like the mathematics punishing competence. Let us think about this from a game master's perspective. You are running a campaign. Your players have grown powerful. Their bonuses are high. You want to create tension, drama, the possibility of failure. But the dice no longer cooperate. The probabilities favor the players too heavily. What do? Option 1. Increase difficulties. Make armor classes higher. Make skill checks harder. This works mechanically. It brings uncertainty back. But it can feel like an arms race. Players get stronger, so enemies get stronger, so players get stronger, so enemies get stronger. The numbers inflate, but the actual gameplay remains the same. This is sometimes called the treadmill problem. Everyone is running faster, but no one is getting anywhere. Option 2. Introduce non-dice challenges. Puzzles. Social encounters. Situations where bonuses do not apply. This works narratively. It shifts the focus away from the dice. But some players enjoy the dice. They enjoy optimizing their character, seeing their bonuses grow, rolling with confidence. Taking that away can feel like a bait and switch. Option 3. Embrace it. Let the players be powerful. Let them succeed routinely. This can work if the story supports it. If the campaign is about powerful heroes doing epic things. But it can also become boring. If there is no chance of failure, there is no tension. None of these options is perfect. They are all compromises. The mathematics has created a problem that cannot be fully solved, only managed. Let us consider a different kind of problem. The death spiral. Some games have mechanics where being wounded makes you less effective, which makes you more likely to be wounded again, which makes you even less effective. Imagine a game where each wound gives you -1 to all rolls. You are in combat. You have 3 dice in your pool. You take a wound. Now you have 2 dice. With 2 dice, you are less likely to succeed. So you are more likely to take another wound. Now you have 1 die. With 1 die, success is very unlikely. You will almost certainly take another wound. Now you have 0 dice. You cannot succeed. You can only fail. This is a death spiral. Once it starts, it is almost impossible to escape. From a narrative perspective, this can feel realistic. Being wounded should make you less effective. A death spiral reflects the brutal reality of combat. But from a gameplay perspective, it is frustrating. Once you start losing, the mathematics guarantees you will continue losing. There is no comeback. No dramatic reversal. The game becomes deterministic. The outcome is decided early, but you must continue playing through the inevitable conclusion. This is not fun for most players. This. They limit how many penalties you can accumulate. Or they give you ways to recover. Or they make penalties less severe. But the underlying mathematical problem remains. Negative feedback loops are hard to escape. Game designers must carefully balance the realism of deteriorating effectiveness against the fun of maintaining agency and hope. Too little penalty for wounds, and combat feels consequence-free. Too much penalty, and death spirals occur. The mathematics constrains the design space. Let us think about another problem. The swinginess of single-die systems. You are playing a D20 game. You are the healer. The barbarian is unconscious and dying. You need to stabilize them. The game master sets the difficulty at 10. Not too hard. You have a +4 bonus to medicine. You need to roll a 6 or higher. That is 15 out of 20 outcomes. 75%. You roll 3. You fail. The barbarian is still dying. Next round, you try again. Roll 2. Fail again. The barbarian gets worse. Next round. Roll 5. Fail. The barbarian dies. 3 rolls. All below 6. This happens about 1.5% of the time. Rare, but not impossible. And when it happens, it feels terrible. Not because you made bad decisions. Not because you were unlucky once. But because you were unlucky 3 times in a row, and the mathematics did not care that a character's life was at stake. The D20 is flat. It does not bend to narrative needs. It does not recognize dramatic moments. Sometimes, this creates great stories. The dice added tension, made the moment uncertain. But sometimes, it creates frustration. The dice killed a beloved character for no reason other than statistical variance. Some game masters house rule around this. They allow re-rolls. They fudge dice behind the screen. They adjust difficulties on the fly. These are all ways of fighting against the mathematics, of imposing narrative structure on chaotic probability, but they come at a cost. If players know the game master is fudging, the dice lose meaning. Why roll at all if the game master will just change the outcome? If players do not know, but suspect, trust erodes. The mathematics has created a problem. Sometimes, it produces outcomes that feel wrong narratively. And there is no clean solution. You can embrace the chaos, accepting that sometimes the dice will ruin your story. Or you can intervene, accepting that you are undermining the integrity of the randomness. Both approaches have costs. Let us consider a different kind of breaking. When players optimize the mathematics. Imagine a dice pool game where you can choose to re-roll any die that shows a 1. The optimal strategy is obvious. Always re-roll 1s. This increases your expected successes. But what if the game also has a mechanic where 1s give you a resource? Maybe a meta-currency you can spend later. Now the decision is interesting. Do you re-roll the 1 for a chance at a success now? Or do you keep it for the resource? But a player who analyzes the mathematics might calculate exactly when each option is optimal. They might create a spreadsheet. They might always make the mathematically correct choice. This is not cheating. They are playing within the rules. But it can suck the life out of the game. Decisions become rote, mechanical. The player is optimizing, not role-playing. The mathematics has become too visible, too central. Some players enjoy this. They like the puzzle, the optimization. Others find it drains the story. The character should make decisions based on who they are, not on expected value calculations. A game designer might try to hide the mathematics. Make the probabilities opaque. Give players imperfect information. But this creates other problems. Players feel like they cannot make informed decisions. They feel like they are guessing. There is a tension here. Between transparency and mystery. Between system mastery and narrative immersion. The mathematics exists. It shapes outcomes. But how visible should it be? Different games make different choices. Some embrace the mathematics. They expect players to understand the probabilities. They reward system mastery. Others hide it. They want players to make thematic choices, not optimal choices. Neither is wrong. But they create different play experiences. Let us pause here. The dice can break the game. The mathematics can work against the story. Bonuses can outgrow the die range. Death spirals can eliminate agency. Swinginess can produce narratively unsatisfying outcomes. Optimization can replace role-playing. These are not failures of the dice. They are tensions inherent in using mathematics to generate stories. Game designers navigate these tensions. They make compromises. They choose which problems to accept and which to solve. Game masters navigate them too. They house rule. They fudge. They adjust. Players navigate them. They choose whether to optimize or to role-play, whether to accept chaotic outcomes or to push back. The mathematics is neutral, but its interaction with narrative is complex. Rest in this understanding. The dice roll. Sometimes they help the story. Sometimes they hinder it. And we continue playing regardless. Something more subtle, more elusive. The relationship between probability and drama. When do the dice create tension? When do they create relief? When do they create surprise? This is not purely mathematical, but the mathematics is the foundation. Let us explore this. Think about a moment in a game. A critical moment. The dragon is about to breathe fire. Your wizard has one chance to counterspell. The game master asks you to roll. How do you feel in that moment? Before the die lands. The feeling depends on the probabilities. On what you know, consciously or unconsciously, about your chances. If you need to roll a 2 or higher on a d20, you feel confident. Almost certain. The tension is minimal. If you need to roll a 20, you feel hopeless. Almost certain to fail. The tension is different, not about whether you will succeed, but about whether a miracle might occur. But if you need to roll an 11 or higher, exactly 50-50, the tension is maximum. You have no idea what will happen. The outcome is genuinely uncertain. This is the mathematics of drama. Drama peaks when probabilities are balanced. Game designers know this. They set difficulties to create the desired emotional response. If they want players to feel competent, they set low difficulties. Rolling with high probability of success creates a feeling of mastery. If they want players to feel challenged, they set moderate difficulties. 50-50 odds create suspense. If they want players to feel desperate, they set high difficulties. Low probability of success creates a feeling of long odds, of hoping for a miracle. Each has its place. Each creates a different narrative beat. A game that is all easy rolls is boring. A game that is all hard rolls is frustrating. A game that is all 50-50 rolls is exhausting. The art is in mixing them, in knowing when to use which. But there is a complication. Players get better at guessing probabilities. An experienced Dungeons & Dragons player knows that rolling a 15 to hit is harder than rolling a 10. They can estimate their chances. This is not a bad thing. It allows them to make informed decisions, to weigh risks. But it can reduce surprise. If a player knows they have a 70% chance of success, and they succeed, it does not feel miraculous. It feels expected. The mathematics becomes visible. The curtain is pulled back. Some games try to hide the probabilities. They do not tell players the difficulty. They just ask for a roll. This preserves uncertainty. The player does not know if they need a 10 or a 15 or a 20. But it also removes agency. The player cannot make informed decisions about whether to attempt the action, whether to use resources to improve their chances. There is a trade-off between transparency and mystery, between informed choice and genuine surprise. Let us think about critical hits, about natural 20s. In Dungeons & Dragons, rolling a natural 20 is an automatic success. It also usually deals extra damage. A natural 20 has a 5% chance. 1 in 20 rolls. This is rare enough to feel special, to create excitement when it happens. But it is common enough to happen regularly. In a 4-hour session with many rolls, you will probably see a few natural 20s. The 5% threshold is carefully chosen. Rarer, and critical hits would feel like legends. More common, and they would lose their impact. But there is a problem. A 5% chance means that, statistically, 1 in 20 attacks is a critical hit. This can create strange narratives. A beginning fighter, attacking clumsily, will critically hit 5% of the time. A master swordsman, attacking with precision, will also critically hit 5% of the time. The mathematics is the same. But narratively, it feels wrong. Should a novice really land a perfect strike as often as a master? Some systems address this. They give high-level characters expanded critical ranges. Critical on a 19 or 20, or 18, 19, or 20. Now the master critically hits more often. The mathematics aligns with the narrative. But this creates a new problem. The master already has a high attack bonus. They hit more often. And now they critically hit more often too. The gap between master and novice widens. This might be desirable, it rewards advancement. Or it might be too much, it makes beginners feel ineffective. The mathematics creates narrative consequences that must be carefully managed. Let us consider critical failures. Natural ones. Some games say rolling a 1 is an automatic failure. Maybe with additional consequences. You drop your weapon. You hit an ally. You fall prone. A natural 1 also has a 5% chance. This creates dramatic moments. But it creates the same narrative problem as critical hits. A master rogue, the best lockpick in the land, will catastrophically fail 5% of the time. This can feel absurd. A master should not fumble routinely. But removing critical failures removes a source of drama, of comedy, of unexpected complications. The mathematics forces a choice. Do you want realism, where masters almost never fail simple tasks? Or drama, where anyone can fail at any time? Different games make different choices. GURPS keeps critical failures even for masters, but makes them very rare on easy tasks. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has critical failures for attack rolls, but not for skill checks. Blades in the Dark has no critical failures at all. If you have enough dice, you will almost certainly succeed. Each choice creates a different feel. a different relationship between competence and chaos. Let us think about degrees of success. In a binary system, success or failure, there is clarity, but also simplicity. Every role has two outcomes. In a graduated system, critical success, success, partial success, failure, critical failure, there is complexity, but also nuance. Every role has 5 outcomes. The probabilities must be distributed across these outcomes. In Powered by the Apocalypse, rolling 2d6 plus a modifier, the ranges are 6 or lower, failure; 7 to 9, partial success; 10 or higher, full success. With a typical modifier of +1 or +2, these ranges create roughly 30% failure, 45% partial success, 25% full success. The game is designed around partial success being most common. The system creates stories where things usually work, but with complications. This is a deliberate narrative choice, enabled by the mathematics. If the ranges were different, say, 2 to 6 is failure, 7 to 8 is partial, 9 to 12 is full, the probabilities would shift. Failure would become more common. The game would feel grittier. The ranges define the feel of the game. Let us consider the role of the game master in managing probabilities. A good game master understands the mathematics. Not necessarily consciously, but they feel it. They know when a role is genuinely uncertain and when it is a formality. They know when to call for a role, when the outcome is in doubt, and when to simply narrate success or failure. If a character with +9 in athletics wants to jump over a 3-foot wall, the game master should not ask for a roll. The mathematics says they will almost certainly succeed. Rolling wastes time and risks a bizarre failure. But if the character wants to leap across a chasm, the game master should call for a roll. The outcome is uncertain. This is called failing forward. Only roll when both success and failure are interesting. The mathematics informs this decision. If the probabilities are too skewed, the roll is not interesting. But there is art here too. Sometimes, a game master calls for a roll even when the outcome is certain. Why? For pacing. For tension. For the tactile pleasure of rolling dice. The wizard is trying to identify a magic item. They have a huge bonus. They will almost certainly succeed. But the game master asks for a roll anyway. The player rolls. 13. Success. Nothing has changed mechanically, but something has changed emotionally. The player feels like they earned the information. They feel like their expertise mattered. The role was theater. But theater has value. The mathematics was irrelevant. But the experience was real. Let us think about when to use different dice systems for dramatic effect. Imagine a game master running a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. The players are attempting a heist. For most of the heist, sneaking past guards, picking locks, disabling alarms, The game master uses normal D20 rolls. Sometimes they succeed. Sometimes they fail. The dice create uncertainty. But then comes the final moment. They are stealing the artifact. The culmination of the entire plan. The game master could ask for a single D20 roll. High stakes. Binary outcome. But instead, they switch to a skill challenge. 3 successes before 3 failures. Multiple rolls. Accumulation. This changes the mathematics. Instead of a single moment of uncertainty, there are multiple moments. The players have chances to recover from failures, to build momentum from successes. The outcome is less swingy, more dependent on aggregate performance. This feels different. It feels appropriate for a climactic scene. It gives the moment weight. The game master, by choosing when to use which mechanics, shapes the drama. Or consider a game master who wants a moment to feel desperate. Impossible odds. They could simply set a high difficulty. Roll a 25 on a D20 plus your bonus. But this feels arbitrary. Why 25? Why not 23 or 28? Instead, they might impose disadvantage. Or multiple sources of disadvantage that stack in their house rule system. Roll 3d20. Keep the lowest. Add your bonus. Beat a 15. The mathematics is brutal. The chance of success is tiny, but it feels earned. The world is against you. The circumstances are terrible. The dice reflect this. If the player succeeds, rolling high on all 3 dice, it feels like a genuine miracle. The mathematics creates the sense of achievement. Let us pause here. The mathematics of drama is subtle. It is about choosing probabilities that create the desired emotional response. Easy rolls create confidence. Moderate rolls create suspense. Hard rolls create desperation. Critical hits and failures create spikes of surprise. Graduated successes create nuance. A skilled game master uses these tools deliberately. Consciously or not, they are conducting an orchestra of probabilities. And the players feel it. They feel the tension when the odds are even. The relief when the odds favor them. The hope when the odds are long. The mathematics is invisible, but its effects are real. Rest in this knowledge. We are nearing the end. Let us step back. Let us consider the larger question. If you are designing a game, or choosing a game to play, or running a game as a master, which dice system should you use? There is no single answer. But there are principles. Considerations. Let us explore them. First, ask, what kind of story do you want to tell? Do you want a story about capable people doing difficult things? Where skill and preparation matter? Where outcomes are usually predictable? Choose a curved distribution. 3d6. Dice pools with many dice. Systems where bonuses shift you into the safe center of the curve. In such a story, The master thief usually picks the lock. The veteran soldier usually hits the target. The experienced diplomat usually persuades the noble. Failure happens, but it is the exception. It is noteworthy. The mathematics supports this. The curve clusters around competence. Or do you want a story about chaos and fate, where anyone can be a hero or a fool in a single moment, where the dice are as much a character as any player? Choose a flat distribution. AD20. A system where every roll is equally uncertain. In such a story, the novice might save the day. The master might fumble. Luck reigns. Failure and success are both common. Neither is surprising. The mathematics supports this too. The flat line offers no guidance, no center, just equal possibilities. Or do you want a story about gradual accumulation, about building advantages, about teamwork and preparation? Choose a dice pool. Count successes. Let players add dice through clever planning. In such a story, success becomes increasingly likely as the team prepares. But it is never guaranteed until you have accumulated enough dice. The mathematics rewards investment. Each die is a small piece of security. Second, ask, how much complexity do you want? A D20 system is simple. Roll one die. Add a bonus. Compare to a number. Even children can do this. A dice pool system is more complex. Roll many dice. Count successes. Sometimes count failures. Sometimes track complications. A multi-die sum system is intermediate. Roll several dice. Add them up. Compare. More complexity can create more depth, more tactical options, more ways for players to engage with the system. But it also slows play, increases cognitive load, creates barriers to entry. A game for casual players should be simple. AD20. Maybe 2d6. A game for dedicated players can be complex. Shadowrun with its pools and thresholds and glitches. Burning Wheel with its multiple types of rolls. The mathematics does not care, but the players do. Third, ask, how transparent do you want the probabilities to be? In AD20 system, every player quickly learns the probabilities. 5% per outcome. Easy to calculate chances. This transparency allows informed decisions. Players can weigh risks, can optimize. But it also removes mystery. Players can predict outcomes, can see the mathematics. In a more complex system, dice pools with variable thresholds, exploding dice, conditional rerolls, the probabilities are opaque. Players develop intuitions, but they cannot easily calculate exact chances. This preserves mystery, but it can feel arbitrary. Neither is better. They serve different purposes. Fourth, ask, what will break? Every system has failure modes. Points where the mathematics works against the story. A D20 system breaks when bonuses outgrow the die. When high-level play becomes rote. A dice pool system breaks when players accumulate too many dice. When failure becomes impossible. A curved system breaks when penalties push characters out of the safe center. When death spirals begin, you cannot avoid all breaking points, but you can choose which ones you are willing to manage. If you choose a D20 system, accept that you will need to manage bonus inflation. Plan for it. Cap bonuses. Or scale difficulties. Or transition to narrative play at high levels. If you choose a dice pool, accept that preparation will eventually trivialize challenges. Embrace it. Or limit dice accumulation. Or increase thresholds. The mathematics will create problems. Your job is to choose which problems you can handle. Fifth, ask, what is traditional in your game's genre? Dungeons & Dragons uses a D20. Players expect this. Changing it would feel wrong. Apocalypse World uses 2d6. The system is built around this. The whole game assumes the probabilities of 2d6. Blades in the Dark uses pools of d6. The fiction of competent scoundrels relies on being able to accumulate dice. Tradition matters. It creates expectations. It shapes how players approach the game. You can break tradition. You can use 3d6 for a dungeon crawler, or a d20 for a heist game. But you should do so deliberately, knowing what you are changing and why. The mathematics is portable, but the culture is not. Finally, ask, what do you enjoy? Some people love the feel of rolling a d20. The weight. The tumble. The way it can land on any face. Some people love rolling handfuls of d6. The clatter. The counting. The accumulation. Some people love the curve of 3d6. The predictability. The safety of the center. This is not mathematical. It is aesthetic, tactile, emotional. But it matters. A game you enjoy playing is better than a game that is theoretically optimal but joyless. The mathematics serves the experience, not the other way around. Let us consider some examples. Some games and the choices they made. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition uses a d20 for almost everything. This creates simplicity, consistency. Every player rolls the same kind of die for attacks, skills, saves. But it also creates swinginess, high variance, the drama of chaos. The designers accepted this. They embraced it. They built advantage and disadvantage to modulate the variance without adding complexity. Powered by the Apocalypse uses 2d6 plus modifiers. This creates a moderate curve. A center around 7 to 9. The designers wanted partial success to be common. They wanted complications. So they made the partial success range the largest part of the curve. The mathematics serves the narrative goal directly. Blades in the Dark uses pools of d6, counting 4+ as successes. This creates scaling difficulty. 1 die, risky. 2 dice, uncertain. 3 dice, decent. 4 dice, good. 5 dice, very good. The designers wanted preparation to matter. They wanted players to feel the benefit of planning. So they made each additional die a noticeable improvement. GURPS uses 3d6, roll under skill. This creates a tight curve. Competence is reliable. The designers wanted a realistic simulation. They wanted skill to be the primary determinant of success. So they minimized variance. Each game made different choices. Each chose a different landscape. And each is successful in its own right. Because the mathematics supports the goals. As you drift toward rest, think about the games you love. What dice do they use? What does that create? What does it feel like? And think about the games you might run, or design, or play in the future. What landscape do you want to explore? The flat plane of the D20, where anything can happen at any moment. The rolling hills of 2 or 3d6, where the center is safe and the edges are rare. The granular accumulation of dice pools, where preparation builds security. The mathematics is neutral. It offers all these landscapes, all these textures. The choice is yours. We have reached the end. 2 hours. A long journey. Through flat plains and rolling hills. Through pools and curves. Through drama and broken systems. We have talked about how 7 shapes Catan. How advantage changes Dungeons and Dragons. How dice pools create blades in the dark. How the mathematics can work with the story, or against it. All of it was built on probability, on the quiet certainty of aggregated chance. As you drift toward sleep, let the dice become a landscape in your mind. Some games are endless plains, flat horizons, where a natural 1 and a natural 20 are equals, where fate reigns and skill bows. Other games are gentle valleys, soft curves, where most rolls cluster in the middle, where competence is rewarded and chaos is tamed. Other games are accumulations, piles of small stones, where each die is a piece of security, where preparation builds safety. The mathematics does not judge. It simply describes these landscapes, maps their contours, predicts their weather. The dice will fall. They will tumble and settle. The numbers will appear. And from those numbers, stories will emerge. Stories of dragons slain by lucky novices. Stories of master thieves failing at simple locks. Stories of desperate heroes succeeding against impossible odds. Stories of settlers competing for sheep. Of hackers breaking into mega-corporations. Of scoundrels pulling off the perfect heist. All of it built on probability. On the simple fact that when you roll a die, some outcomes are more likely than others. Unless you are rolling a d20, then they are all equally likely. And that creates a different kind of story altogether. The mathematics is not there to constrain you. It is there to enable you, to give you tools, to create textures, to shape experiences. A 7 in Catan is not just a number. It is the heartbeat of the game, the rhythm that makes everything else work. Advantage is not just a mechanic. It is a way of saying, circumstances matter. The world helps sometimes. A dice pool is not just a handful of cubes. It is a representation of accumulation, of building toward success. The mathematics makes these things possible. Sleep now. Let the numbers fade. Let the probabilities become landscape. Hills and valleys. Plains and pools. Somewhere in that landscape, a die is rolling. You do not know what number will come up, but you know the chances. You know the shape of the distribution. You know that if it is a D20, every outcome is equal. You know that if it is 2d6, 7 is waiting. Patient. Inevitable. You know that if it is a pool, the more dice you have, the safer you are. This knowledge is comforting. The dice are not chaotic. They are mathematically predictable. In the moment, anything can happen. But over time, the curve asserts itself. The center holds. The probabilities manifest. Thank you for this journey, for exploring the mathematics that shapes our stories. The dice will always be there, rolling, tumbling, settling, creating moments, building narratives, shaping worlds, all from simple probability, all from the quiet certainty of chance. Rest now. The curve will hold you.